Hello, 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 hello out there in Cavland. 'Tis Monday. And my gosh, has it been a Monday? But not now, not now. Here I am with my buddies hanging out, talking about some Cav stuff, hopefully. Hobby Habit, good to see you. Good Huntsman. Oh, by the way, Hobby Habit subscribed at Tier 1, their third month. They're awesome. Thank you very much, Hobby Habit, on behalf of John. On behalf of John. And I agree with you. Logging into anything. Oh my gosh, it's so funny you bring that up. But we're trying, we'll save the frustrations of a modern life till we get a chance to say hello to everybody. The Good Huntsman is the login person. Hobby Habit Trials. Yeah, I see it. Hobby Habit, I try and have my stuff remember me too, and then it forgets, and by then I've forgotten. I'm leaving the picture up there for a minute so we can talk about what this picture represents. After we get a chance to say hello to everybody. Mr. Gimli. As long as it doesn't look like trying to get pics of the chat. Yeah, Ilmarin, I saw some of that stuff over on Discord. And the Good Huntsman, yeah, I mean, it is a little RPG related, although it's probably not as exciting as a news, maybe as you might hope. So some of you may be familiar with RPG Dungeon. It's a store down in Carrollton, Texas, that has supported Cav and currently supports Cav. As far as I know, they have Cav models there for people to play with. And so I was in Carrollton over the weekend. A long, arduous trip down to the Dallas area. And I got a few minutes to stop in and say hi, meet the folks that run the shop, and take a picture of this spectacular table they have. It is amazing. It's made of steel. It has a 55-inch LCD TV monitor-y thing in the middle for displaying maps and monster pictures and stuff like that when you're not playing tabletop. It's flush. There's a piece of plexiglass over the top of it, so the table's level. They have mats you can roll out across there to turn it into like a Cav table. They have painted Cav miniatures there. A selection of at least 4, maybe 5 different armies that you can try out. It's pretty interesting. Yeah, Hobby Habit. Some lady is hiring the rock assault team to come in and kill rats in the basement. The question is, are you going to steal her pillows from the basement or not? Yeah, right after that poetry, or maybe in the middle of the poetry session. I don't know. Rock poets are probably hard to anticipate. And it's really funny because, John's not really into this whole subculture of rock. I don't know quite what the humanism maybe. That some of us have are engendering or gathering together momentum with, but I'm not sure he gets a choice. I mean, this is our game as much as it is his, kind of. So we want to enjoy it. If we want to enjoy the game with rock poets, then we'll get rock poets. Yeah, hopefully, Gimli. Hopefully we will. So anyway, I wanted to show you this picture because it's a kind of it's a smaller shop, but it's got plenty of room. It's super clean. It's got 3 of these tables, tons of terrain that you could use. Actually, it's got 4 of these tables now that I think about it. They've got one room set aside where you could play a private session where you can close the door if you don't want to, have to deal with the hubbub of the other people playing. Apparently, if I understood the owners correctly, they have stored GMs that come in and sort of I'm not quite sure how to describe it. It's like they have a relationship with the store where they come in and run events for the store, and so people can join their. You can also come in and play your private games. It's just a real interesting little store. And if you ever get a chance to stop in, if you're in Carrollton, you happen to be in Dallas, go and check them out. They're very interesting. I was happy I got a chance to stop by. If they were a local store, I would frequent them for playing games and stuff like that. So let's see if we can turn this picture off now. Oh, good Lord, how'd that sneak in there? Badger's on my mind. All right. So, the one thing about this RPG Dungeon store was they didn't actually... I don't think they had any Cav product for sale, which it was kind of odd. I'm not sure what their business model is, but I've said that to store owners before, and been impressed with the way they answer me. Not in words, but the way they're just their actions. So Team Covenant is a store here locally that is fantastic. And when I first met those guys, I was like, what do you sell and how are you going to stay in business? Because they didn't seem to have anything for me to buy. And that's kind of like this place. Maybe it's a service-oriented store. So, Hobby Habit, I'm glad you like this camo because I bought this miniature at RPG Dungeon. It turns out they have painted Cav miniatures for sale. So I paid $8 for it. I don't know if you can make that out. And it's a nice paint job. The camo is really sweet. It looks pretty good on this tank. Unfortunately, the barrel's got a little bit of a bend in it that I need to work on, but it's not too terrible. And so I was pleased enough with this tank that I thought, I'm going to buy this tank. All right, let's back up a second. Yeah, so I hate going in a store, especially a store that I like. Deal of a price for PP. I have no idea what that means. Good huntsman, I'm sorry. So I hate going into little shops without buying something, right? So, I can walk into Walmart without buying anything. That's not that thing. Hey, Mech Boy. Glad to see you. Man, another subscriber. You guys are killing it today. So, yeah, I hate to go into a local game store, especially one that I've never been in before, and not walk out with something. So, I'll buy a pack of miniatures even if I already own them, or some dice or something. I'm just I don't know, just my way of doing things, right? Even the little local stores, I rarely go in them without coming out with something. And there wasn't anything for me to buy at this store except these painted miniatures. And so I thought to myself, well, I really like this paint scheme. It looks really simple up close. It's really just a bunch of swatches of paint. It's a camo pattern. But it looks pretty sharp. And I think, it might be fun to do, to try and emulate this. So I bought it with the idea that at some point in time I will sit down and paint a little force in this scheme to go along with my tank. And then I'll have something to work on. Or I'll have something to play with. Because it really is super simple. I bet you could paint one of these up in, I don't know, less than an hour. I mean, these literally, the person looks like they primered it with kind of a tan, like a deserty kind of tan. And then they took this orange and this, I don't know, call it kind of like a pale yellow or an off-white, and then the black. And they just kind of went in and made lozenges by hand, but it's very effective. It looks really sharp. They also had one in black and gray and white, and I kind of kicked myself for not buying it too. At the time, I was like, one paint scheme for one force, but I was like, man, I could have done the different squads in different colors. Oh well, maybe I'll get a chance to get back down there. So yeah, this is a future project for me to try and copy this paint scheme. Hopefully I'll be able to get this barrel to work out. If nothing else, I'll find a way. Anyway, so along those lines, I thought to myself, let me back up. I was looking at a picture that Ross Hines sent me. Savage Coyote is how some of you might know him. Anyway, super excellent painter, Big Stompy podcast co-host, just stupidly good. He sent me a picture of a mech for that other game that we're not allowed to talk about. Actually, we can. We just, I'm being silly. And it's just amazing what he did with this picture. I can't show it to you because it's an unreleased model. I guess he's painting it up for the company or something like that. Anyway, long story short, his technique is just brilliant. I really love the way he did it. It's called RPG Dungeon, I believe is their name. They have a Discord account with us. They occasionally will post over in Discord, and sometimes they'll wander into the stream chat occasionally. It's it's a new place. Unfortunately, it started up kind of right before COVID, but they seem to be doing all right. Like I said, if I lived anywhere near to that place, I would frequent it. Like I said, just super clean, very friendly guys. It looks like a lot of fun, and I like RPGs. I think it would be fun to be able to, like, I don't know, pay $5 and sit down and play in a well polished RPG game. I'd be totally down for that. It's like going to a movie, right? $10, $20, whatever the cost is. It's like if the session is fun, I'm like down for it. I mean, that's probably more entertainment than I would get out of going and watching, like Star Wars for the 30th time or something. But anyway, yeah. So it's a cool little store. They had Adenese, Terrans, Rock, Malvernons, maybe one other, but I can't remember for sure. Get a chance, pop in there. Like I said, look. In the future, at some point in time, I'm going to have a unit of these guys. All right. So copying that paint scheme got me to thinking about how much I really like Ross's paint style. And when you look at it up close and you zoom his pictures in, it doesn't look complicated. It looks like the sort of thing I should be able to do. And I thought to myself, maybe what I'll do is I will try and that'll be my stream project. Is I will just try and paint something up in Ross's paint style just to see how hard it really is. And so all throughout the day today, I thought that was what I was going to do. And then I got home and I got sidetracked with some other stuff. And I just changed my mind. All right, so now I've got these rock models I've been working on. This is my airbrushed one that I've been tinkering with, and I have yet to decide what direction to go. And so I thought, maybe what I would do is I would take this one, and I would try and paint it kind of like Ross does. So here's what Ross does. Let's see if I can explain this to you. What Ross does is kind of this really cool layering effect. And so I'm sure you've seen him post his models before, but what he'll do is, like he'll take this piece of armor right here, right? And along the bottom will be his dark color, whatever it is, and then right above it will be a line of that highlighted, and then above that will be a line of that highlighted, and right across the top will be kind of like an edge highlighty color. And then he'll rinse and repeat that. So he does that piece of armor that way, and then he does this piece of armor the same way, and he just goes around the whole model, and he does those pieces all together, and then he does these fantastic cockpits that drive me crazy. A little weathering, he's very good at weathering, and that's his technique. And like I said, it comes out really, really good. And I decided I wanted to try and see if I could emulate that, because to be honest with you, I kind of rely on the airbrush too much. Oftentimes I'm trying to go fast when I'm painting for whatever crazy reason, and so I end up using the airbrush way too much. And so I need to practice my brush skills. So I thought this would be a good way for me to do that. And then I decided, instead of doing all that layering, because I also am a fan of James Wapple, why don't I try tinkering with some of these oil paints that I've made up? And so I think what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and do what he was doing with oil paints. Okay, so I'm going to try and take these two oil paints. This is indigo, a really dark blue, and cadmium red, which is a fairly strong red, and I'm going to try and use these to blend those armor plates kind of the way he was doing. Now normally when I paint with oil paints, I have a little mirror that I use as my palette, but it's kind of weird to use a mirror as a palette, as you can kind of tell, so I'm not going to do that. Yeah, so Ilmarin, if I'd had a little more time, I would have grabbed one of his models, or a picture of one of his models to show you. I don't think I physically have any of his paint jobs here, which is probably a mistake on my part. I need to get one. But yeah, so he will again. So let's say we were doing kind of black, blue, light blue, right? So what he'll do is he'll paint this like kind of about a third of this piece of armor black, and then he'll mix the blue in to get like sort of a darker medium blue, and he'll come in and he'll paint like right across here that medium blue, and he'll take the full blue and paint it across here, and then right across the top, of course, he'll do some kind of an edge highlighty thing, and then he just rinses and repeats all the way across here, and then he'll come down and do it on here, so that all the armor plates have kind of the same highlighting technique. There's probably more to it than that. Oh yeah, Ilmarin, absolutely. Wapple is his quote. One of his quotes is, "The mini is the palette," but I'm not as good as Wapple, so I'm still. It's like I got my toe dangled off into the oil painting swimming pool, but I'm kind of afraid to jump in for whatever reason. Anyway, that's what's going on with me. So I don't know. I don't know how this is going to work. I'm just going to kind of dive in. Put out some oil paint right here. And over here I'm going to put out some of this here oil paint. And I'm just going to kind of give it a try. I have no promises that any of this will be worth, that I won't be mad at myself for wasting my time doing this. Yeah, absolutely. No time like the present. Let's see if I can get this on screen here. Does that focus okay? This camera seems to be kind of fuzzy today. I don't know what its deal is. Anyway. Alright, so this is indigo. I'm just gonna lay this down here on the bottom. Of this armor plate, but I'm going to only paint this armor plate. Okay. Then I'm going to wipe my brush off. Oh yeah, don't lick oil paint brushes. It's a bad idea, trust me. And I promise you, I just did that off screen. So, you know, it's a good thing you guys aren't looking at me, because my face right now probably looks like the bitter beer guy. Not happy. Don't lick the paintbrush. Alright, so then I'm going to take some of this here red, and I'm just going to drop it right above there, kind of up at the top. See if I can stay on camera. Alright. Then I'm going to take a different brush. Let me get a smaller brush. And I'm just going to come in here. This is the part where Wapple does magic and I do brown. And I'm just going to come in here and kind of just mix these two colors together. It's sort of stippling. Seems like all I'm doing is really just pulling red down over the top of this blue. So I will push the blue up into the red, maybe? Is that how this should work? Looks to me like the red is just dominating this blue. Let's get some more of this blue in here. See if we can't fight back. Push some of this indigo into here. Like I said, Wapple he makes it look silly, easy. He's just blah, 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 and he's done, and it looks fantastic. So I am not going to be intimidated by this. I'm just going to swing for the fences. I am just going to go for it. Yeah, seriously. Interesting. I'm not sure what I'm trying to achieve here, other than just experimenting. some more of this. Let's break out another brush here. Get that on the camera. Concentrating, you can tell because I'm being quiet. I saw you guys were very busy over in a Discord this week. I didn't get it. It's May is crazy for me. I have well, MacBoy, it's interesting because this is oil paint, right? So I mean, I guess I could, but the idea is to put them together and let them mix. Let them mix right on the model. But they don't honestly seem to be doing a lot of mixing. I guess I should have put together some thinner beforehand. It's my thinner glass. Totally not used for any other sort of, like alcoholic agents of any kind whatsoever. All right, so this is thinner that's coated in this brush. Let's see what happens if we just come in here and kind of muck about with this. I don't know. I mean, you could certainly get the oil paints to mix. I just don't know what's, if I'm digging what it's selling here. I don't know. Yeah, MacBoy, you're right. I got to try. He's always talking about just when you're blending these together, it's just a stippling action. So let me come in here and just try and break down this seam between these two. When I look at it on the screen, it's just all I see is the red. I don't see hardly any of that indigo down there at the bottom. So let me try and bring some more of that back in here. And it may be the indigo is just too much. Maybe I should have just used like a dark red or something. Maybe it's just too much contrast. Perseverance. We talked over the weekend about how raising the model cap on Turney-less would kind of naturally bring lighter chassis into play. Yeah, I remember that now. I did see some of you're trying to photograph the Javelier or something like that. And then, Tiger Wraith has been like spamming pictures of his very, very awesome looking paint setup. Which is totally cool. All right, let's just move on. Let's just keep going. We're just going to keep swinging for the fences. Now here's another armor plate. I'm just going to put some paint down. Treat it like a whole nother space in terms of painting. It doesn't have any relation to the previous plate above it. So right at the top, this indigo-y color at the bottom. I'm just going to grab it with the red in there. I'm just going to let them mix. Hey, maybe that's the idea. Let's mix them together, see what we get. Here, let's put some of this down here. Too much. Tiger Wraith, I guess you're talking about the comment about your space. Yeah, it looks fantastic. That's a ton of stuff you've got there. And well organized too, which is commendable. So let's talk about that a little bit. So, I mean, I know a lot of us here haven't actually played in tournaments, CAV tournaments, but I think we can still have like a really good conversation about it. I personally think that having a bigger model cap would allow for more variety in the lists. I don't know what happened to John when he was like a BTEC player, but there must have been some people that brought some spam lists that really left a bad impression on him. Because whenever I talk to him about those kind of things, one of the, he's always worried that somebody's going to bring this list with, I don't know, his example is 60 infantry models. And I guess, let's put it like this. You're going to have people that are disruptive to your game in any environment. Honestly, I'm not sure that the rules are the right place to take care of disruptive people. I think the community is the right place to take care of disruptive people. And so trying to legislate out problematic lists, I think, legislates out some variety. I don't know. I mean, it's a complicated problem. If we were just all good people, I think it would be better. It's interesting. Yeah, some of us have never played 51 goblins. Is that goblin is a cav unit that I'm not familiar with? One of those things that hasn't happened yet. So yeah, you're right. There's a lot of room for I don't know, just a lot of room for working. Come here, little brush. You're not allowed to escape yet. Your days. You're still on the clock. Get to work. Do something good. Hey, look, Talon Games is online. 86 TV for this goblin thing. What is it? Is it a vehicle or a cav? Hold on. It's difficult for me to have a meaningful... One of John's reservations of the high model count is time between turns. I get it, but, just... I mean, just set the round clock, right? Bloody lemming? What? You're not allowed in here. This isn't Saturday. Get out of here. 13 movement, 3 armor, 3 DT. Interesting. Seems like they'd pop really easy, but they'd be good at going and grabbing objectives, I guess. I don't know. I mean, let people experiment. That's kind of my take. I don't know. Obviously, I don't have John's experience running tournaments, so I'm sure there are reasons for the things he does. I think sometimes he might risk throwing out the baby with the bathwater. I mean, one of the reasons why I think CAV tournament lists tend to look a lot alike is because with the model count in the points, you have to pack as much into your list as you can take. So all the units kind of end up being similar. I mean, you got those points, right? Why would you don't want to play down points, but you've only got 12 chassis to put them on. And there's also a squad limit too, right? And if he's worried about just hey, at 2 hours you sound you blow a whistle and you say finish the current round, done. And if they're not done by 2.5 hours, you say just put your dice down, score it where it is. I mean, part of your, how can I put this? Sort of like the end user license agreement when you sign up for the tournament is you agree to play 2.5 hour rounds. Yeah, so Ilmarin, I think there is something to do with that. There's only so much space on the board, right? So if you've got 51 goblins, you're not going to be able to keep them away from each other far enough that a template's not going to land on them, and then a Tiamat is going to eat those goblins for lunch. Anyway, just my 2 cents. Like I said, John has way more experience with these things than I do, so you should definitely listen to him before you listen to me. I just know that there are times, when it comes to like tournament style list creation, that I feel, just impeded by the rules. There are literally things I can't do. There is no wide. Everybody's list is basically the same size. Basically. And some of the models are cut out because they're just not designed for that kind of play, right? So, like, to me, the Lance, right? The Lance is a nasty little tank, but it's really a defensive tank. It's so slow. What can it do? It has no turret, so you have to point it at what it's shooting at. It shoots hard, but it's also short-ranged. I think it's a heavy PPG. And so you can never deploy that thing in a tournament. I mean, the tournaments are not, they're about maneuver. They're not about defending. Anyway. So just the tournament rules narrow down the available models you can play a lot. Yeah. I mean, if those 51 goblins are trying to actually do anything on the table other than hide, they're going to get smashed. A bunch of them. Blood Lemming, I'm not your. Dragons love goblins. Is this a fantasy reference, or is there a dragon model that I'm not familiar with? I'm not sure. I'm lost. Wouldn't be the first time. Oh yeah. Tiamat is the dragon, queen of dragons. Yeah, okay, get it. Sorry, hard to follow, guys. Hard to follow, at least for me, because I'm trying to paint. Why am I painting? We should just be talking about lists. This is ridiculous. I am terrible at this anyway, but it's only one way to get better. So here we go. Gosh, I tell you what. By this time on James Wapple's stream, I'm like, my tongue is hanging out, and I'm going like, how the does he do this? It's not happening here. This is not Waffle's stream. And the funny thing is, those calves he painted during CavCon, when you look at them up close, they're not that complicated. I mean, they're kind of simple. And I'm like, but they look good on the table. I'm like, how does he do this? I don't know. I guess 300,000 hours painting will do something for you, or whatever he's logged. Yeah, the Good Huntsman. I can never keep track of which one of us in the Cav group have War Machine and Hordes experience, but that was always a big thing with their competitive tournaments, as they played with a chess clock a lot of the times. And I mean, it's effective. It can also be pretty stressful. Honestly, I would personally choose not to play in a chess clock tournament because I don't need that kind of stress. That's not why I play the game. But yeah, I've watched a ton of those games, like up in person. So there was there used to be a War Machine Hordes convention called War Machine Weekend. It's since changed its name to something else. I'm not sure what it is. It still runs in St. Louis every November-ish, I believe. Anyway, for about 3 or 4 years, I did their photography. I used to be a hobbyist photographer. And so I would go and take pictures of the tournaments and their models and stuff like that. And so I watched a ton of the best players playing because I was there to take their pictures when they won and to take pictures of, their expressions during the course of the game and things like that. And so I was, allowed right next to the top tables while they were playing. And that chess clock it's a powerful tool. Pre-remix infantry machine era. There's a local whose tourney list was like 5 models. Yeah. So that's the few times. I mean, I played a fair amount of War Machine. My favorite way to play it was with the fewest models possible, because then there was less I had to remember. So I loved Colossals. I would always try and make a list with 1 or 2 Colossals in it, and then a bunch of Warjacks, because I liked the Warjacks better than the infantry. I wasn't really there for their infantry. That's not why I liked that game. I see you there with your Crix, Tiger Wraith. I could have only guessed that you would be a Crix player. But that's okay. Nothing wrong with Crix. I have a ton of that crap still. It's embarrassing how many of those models I have. So I'll be honest with you, I am not impressed with the way this is coming out, to the point where I'm not going to bother going any further with it. It's just not working for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep working with this red, but I'm going to bring out a different color. I'm going to find something else to mix with it. I don't know. So Hobby Habit, I don't know what you mean by try my highlight now. What does that mean? I mean, the red is the highlight, basically. I mean, I could edge highlight it, I guess, with some pink or white or something. I don't know. There's a reason why I always come back to this. Now, that being said, I have had some success, right? So pardon me, John, for showing another company's models. So I think I've shown this before. This is painted with oil paints. I'm in the process of painting this Captain Marvel with oil paints. And she's not coming out too bad. I mean, it's not the best thing I've ever done, but it's solid. Needs a little work. But, so, I mean, the oil paints can work. Orange, white, blend, lighter on the top. See, I don't disagree with you, but man, I mean, like, the details on these armor plates are so tiny. All right, so we'll get some. I'm just going to do what you guys tell me to do. Orange. Crap. Something like this? Is this good for you? I got to shake this up. All right. Come on out of there. Oh, this is kind of thick. That's all right. We got thinner over here, if that's what we need. Embrace the Ross. Be the Rosses. You know, I wish it was that easy. Well, first of all, I'm guessing you're talking about Bob Ross, because that guy, he could do it. He was awesome. My kind of painter entirely. So this yellow is a much cheaper oil paint brand. So I don't know how this is going to work. Let's go right here. And the other thing that you run into with oil paints is it gets to the point where you can't really work with it anymore. You have to let it kind of dry a little bit because it's all so wet. Yeah, I think that's what's going on here. The stuff just won't lay down over it. It just moves the red around. Pardon my daughter's dog. Yeah. So see what James Wapple does is, of course, is he moves on and paints other parts of the model while this dries a little bit, and then he can come back and do some highlights. This is not like acrylic. So yeah. Yeah, Savage Coyote. But now he's painting with acrylics, right? I probably should have tried this with acrylics. But like I said, I was running late, and I don't know. I just got it in my head I would give this oil painting another go on these guys. But I'm not going to give up. I'm just going to try some random crap. We're just slinging paint. This is an experimental model at this point. I can always let this dry and just airbrush right back over it and put it back where this guy is pretty quickly. So a party package. I just want to hang out and chat. I don't want to paint. If the bullet has your name on it, shrapnel comes to him. Yeah, okay. I've heard that sort of stuff before. All right, so let's just take some of this yellow. Oh, wait a minute. Still got that black in the brush. Let's clean the brush out. By the way, it's funny because Wapple is streaming right now, and my legitimate painting advice for all of you is to turn this channel off and go watch Wapple paint. You'll learn a hell of a lot more if that's what you're interested in. This is not that kind of channel. Yeah, this is that cheap paint I bought by accident. It's not. I'm not doing anything with that. That's crazy. Do I have any yellows in a good quality paint? Winsor & Newton. Yep. Let's try this. Bloody Lemming, there's something to be said for acknowledging the existence of sunk costs and moving on, too. I think there's two different ways to approach that particular dilemma. All right, here we go. Here's some other yellow. All right, so it's just... I mean, it is a rock model, right? There's no reason why it can't be different colors left and right. Isn't that a thing? I think that's a thing, isn't it? Rock don't care. Alright. Let's just stick the brush in this red and do something. See what happens. Paint some red down here. Ketchup and mustard, the classic combo. Good for your fries. Good for what ails you. A blending brush. Let's see what we can do here. It's like this red just wants to eat everything I mix it with alive. It's like there's nothing left when it's done. It's the great white shark of oil paints, apparently. So it's kind of a slightly orangier red is what I get out of that. Let's put some yellow back in there. Oh, look. All the colors. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I just, so with me, you know, there are ways I know how to paint, and so when I try something like this and I struggle with it, I'm like, you know, I could have already painted half of this model if I had just done the things I already know how to do. And so part of my problem is time, of course. Time is not my friend. I have very little free time. Get this up over here, center. And so it's difficult for me to struggle when I could say, you know what, if I had just used the airbrush, this model would be halfway done, a third of the way towards being completed. And so that's the sort of thing I struggle with, because it's like I just don't have time to muck about. But that's also limiting, because then I don't end up experimenting and trying new things, and I get stuck in a rut. And then I say to myself, today I'm going to learn something new, and I get halfway into it, and I'm like, you know, this is probably a mistake. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like you and I, you know, we think alike. I think we just come at it from slightly different angles. Oh, I like the transition of this yellow into this orange. The problem is, how do you get it to be? I guess let's just throw some damn paint on there. Let's just put some massive amounts of yellow in there. All right, massive yellow. Now let's push this around. Push this kind of. See, as soon as I touch it, it just goes away. There's no yellow left. It's all orangey red. All right, let's just paint with the yellow. Let's just try that. There. Yeah, do the whole thing like that. So I once took an oil class from Mr. Wapple at ReaperCon a few years ago, back before ReaperCon transitioned over to the new hotel. And I mean, I honestly didn't walk away from that class knowing very much, because it just doesn't match my learning style. I'm sorry, I shouldn't call him Jim, his name is James. James Wapple's way of teaching is to, like, here's some tools, go do something. And my way of learning is, let me explain to me how you do that so I can try and duplicate it. Is the music too loud, Cthulhu? This is, so John has a subscription to a service of royalty-free music, and I just went through and picked an hour's worth that I really like. And to be honest with you, every once in a while, I'm afraid I hear it and I'm like, that's a Star Trek theme. I've heard this before. Oh my gosh, we're going to get in trouble. But it's not. It's supposed to be royalty free. Yeah, it's got a little bit of a flame look to it. I guess you could go that route if you wanted to. I guess, except here's the problem, right? Flames are yellow at their core and reddish. They get darker on the outside. Isn't that the way flames work? They're hot at the core, brighter colors at the core, and darker colors at the edges. Am I wrong about that? I don't know. This is another reason why I don't paint with a brush enough, because I don't know. It just reinforces my what am I doing? Why is this not working? Anyway, shut up and push paint. Yeah, Talent Games Online. Speak of the devil. Yeah, that's about the best thing that's going on in this camera right now, is this ultimate sexy miniature holder. I mean, the miniature is not bad. If I would stop putting paint on it, it would probably actually be decent. Yeah, all right. I'm following your advice. Let's go for it. Let's put some yellow on this next plate down here. See what we get. Yeah, let's thin that out just a little bit. Get a little narrow line right there. Okay. And then kind of push it down into the red just a little bit. Drop your paint in the paint, or your paintbrush in the paint. That's always my classic go-to. It's my best maneuver. What's going on here? Thank you very much. All right. Try and dot those out. Blend that yellow line into the red line to get orange. Well, McBoy21, I mean, I kind of get that. It's, unless you have somebody around you that will let you borrow theirs or use theirs, it's kind of a big jump to get into. I can tell you this, they're super useful. I would. He does, and these are thin. That's why they're in these bottles. I've pre-mixed them with Mona Lisa odorless paint thinner. Sorry, get it on screen. I followed his directions to get these paints thinner. Are they the right thinness? I don't know. I'm not him. Buck Rogers, tweaky. Talk to you later, Mr. Lemming. What was I talking about? Yeah. Okay, airbrush. Airbrush is something I could actually talk about. I think that has I have some idea of what's going on. Your best bet is really, if there's any kind of decent sized hobby community near you, find somebody that has one and just either watch them or see if they'll let you play with it or something. If you lived anywhere near Tulsa, we before COVID, we had regular paint days where I would drag all my airbrush stuff down to the shop and bring 2 or 3 airbrushes, and if people wanted to experiment or try, or those, so some of them got to the point where they knew how to use them, and they would just wait for that day and do their airbrushing when I brought my stuff down. And I mean, I'm decent at airbrushing. I could definitely show you some tips or tricks there. So unfortunately, I'm guessing you don't live anywhere near Tulsa, Oklahoma. But where you live, there may be people that will offer the same sort of thing, or at least have experience and wouldn't mind showing you. Yeah, so it's a matter of practice, right? When I first tried it, it's a technique, right? You have to learn how to use the tool. Unfortunately, apparently, I don't know how to use this one right here, the one I should probably already know how to use. Oh, Lord. Let's throw a little bit more yellow in here. This guy is destined to be repainted with an airbrush, I guarantee you. If we ever get a chance, like if we get to go to ReaperCon this year, I'm going to see if I can talk Ross into, doing a little class just for us. Maybe something off the books, not something that Reaper blesses or whatever, just something where he can show us that layering technique of his, because it's brilliant, and he describes it as being pretty fast. I mean, I've seen him. He'll send me a picture in the morning of like getting started, and by the afternoon he's done. And I'm like, holy crap, man! How do you do that? I was just in North Texas this past weekend. I was in Carrollton Saturday. I stopped by RPG Dungeon, and I took my daughters down there to all the Daisos and all those. There's a large Asian community, I gather, and so there's a lot of customized shops, and they love everything Japanese and Chinese and Korean. They're giant fans of all that stuff. So we went down there for one of their birthdays and just spent the whole day shopping. And I managed to sneak by RPG Dungeon while I was there. Yeah, I don't know. I'm definitely not impressed with the way this is coming out. But hey, it was a fun experiment. So yeah, McBoy, I don't know if you have any intention of going to ReaperCon, but if you want to, I could make arrangements to bring my stuff down there, and I could show you the little bit that I know, and you could experiment with my setup, and if you like it, probably the Badger people will be there, and they always have the best deals in the world on airbrushes at conventions. Now, I'm not sure how that'll work now that Reaper sells an airbrush. I don't know the politics of that. I'm sure John could speak to that if he were able to. But yeah, I mean, I'm always happy to try and help people out with anything that I know how to do. And like I said, I'm only average at it, but good enough to teach people the basics. So it's almost 9 o'clock, and I got other things I got to do, unfortunately. So a few things that are going on this week. Tomorrow, Tuesdays with John. Yeah, Badger makes the Vix. All right, great, McBoy. So hopefully we'll get a chance to meet down at ReaperCon. If you decide you're interested, let me know. Send me something on Discord, or reach out to me, and I will. I wouldn't normally bring my painting stuff down there because I'm down there to hang out and play, not to paint. But if you want me to, I would be happy to bring a little mobile rig of airbrushy goodness that you could experiment with and see what you think. Show you the few tricks and tips I know. Maybe, baby. So tomorrow, John will be on doing something cav related, I'm assuming. Who would have ever guessed? he will. I have no idea what he's doing because he's kind of moved away from the Terrain Tuesdays thing, so I can't tell you he's going to be working on terrain. But I'm sure it'll be interesting. Last week he talked about sort of forest composition, which I thought was really interesting. We got inside his brain a little bit, and we got to hear a little bit about how an alternative way of structuring cav lists, which I thought was fascinating. Wednesday, John and I will be on chit-chatting about whatever John wants to talk about. God knows. And then Saturday with Chris. This month, the Big Stompy podcast is on May 20th. May 20th is and I say this with a ton of pride because I love my wife dearly, is my 33rd wedding anniversary, May 20th. So I don't think I'm going to be on. I think Ross will organize it and have some sort of a Big Stompy podcast for you, I hope. And then Tulsa, hopefully our little local store, Dice Addiction, is going to open back up for tabletop gaming here in Tulsa, and we are going to run a Slow Grow League starting in June, which I will... sweet, Ilmarin, awesome. Congratulations. I will make sure that I document the Slow Grow League with photographs. I don't know if I can do video of any kind, but I will definitely get a lot of photographs and notes and get you guys the results and kind of share with you what people are doing and how it's working out. One of the locals, he sent me about 5 messages over the weekend. Hey, Rourke. Rourke is my wife. They're in chat. She's awesome. If you ever get a chance to meet her, and you will at ReaperCon, she's the most wonderful person I ever met in my life. Anyway, I'm going to get off here. I will see and talk to all of you on Wednesday. Reach out to me on Discord if you have any questions. MacBoy, if you want to try and set that up, you know where to reach me. Thanks very much for all of you being here. I hope your painting goes better than mine. Have a good night. Peace. Be good to everybody. Be good to yourselves. Be good to your neighbors. Be good to strangers. Just be good. Bye.